We are still waiting on the speaker to arrive, and as he is there, he will take on the mic and we'll start with the webinar.
I
So,
am here, Pratik.
okay,
Thanks.
sorry, I didn't know that. Shantu, I'll hand over the mic to you. Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
please. Yeah, just allow me 1 minute.
Yeah, sure, sure.
So, hi, good morning, everyone. So good to see everyone. So, we have so many people joining from the Danan College of Engineering today with us. That is so good to see. Uh, yeah, I'll just turn on my camera as well. Please let me know when you can see me. Can you guys see
Yeah,
me?
yeah, Shantu, we can
Okay.
see you.
Thanks. All right, thanks, Persh. All right, great going on over here. All right, so let's just start today's session. So today we will be talking a lot about programming in general, right? So thanks, Pratik, a lot for giving introduction about me. But I'll give an introduction about myself in my own way.
Yeah, sure, sure,
so
sure.
so if we talk, so before I start, I'll tell you something about myself. So hi, my name is Shantanu Shubham. I am currently a mentor and instructor at Coding Ninjas. So I talk a lot about data structures and algorithms. I talk a lot about competitive programming. I love doing web development. So I talk about all of these things. So in the webinar today, if you have any questions regarding any of these topics, I would love to take them. Telling this to you beforehand only. I'll be joining Schlumberger in like next week. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll be joining Schlumberger as a software engineer next week. So that was about me. And now let's get to know a little bit from the audience, right? Why should I have all the fun? So let's get to know from the audience. So audience, I just want to know something from you people, and that is that which year and which branch you are from. That would really be helpful.
See, actually, Shantanu, there are students from different branches and different year as well because this was a webinar, so we invited everyone we could. So there
Hmm.
are students from first year joining in, there are students from second year as well as third year. And
Okay.
yeah, so there might be students that might be from fourth year as well. I'm not very sure about it. Yeah, but
Okay.
I have my seniors on the call as well.
I know the swag of fourth years. They're like, oh,
Yeah,
why should I join the call now? I'm in the
yeah.
last year.
No,
Yeah,
no. Actually, we are blessed to have seniors which are really supportive and this.
that,
They really motivate us and help us out.
that is great. That is great.
Yeah.
That is great. All right. So moving ahead, let's talk about competitive programming and what we do understand from it. Now let's get to the point. Uh,
Yeah.
so when we talk about competitive programming, so we see that it's made up of two words, right? Competitive and programming. So technically, in general, we both do understand the meaning of competitive separately and programming in separately. So like, what do we understand from the word competitive? So competitive is basically like, there's like a competition going on, or there's like a streak that you have to maintain, or something like that. Like it's like a winner, it's like a win or lose kind of thing. Competitive. That's the word internally means in English. Whereas programming is the art of writing code, basically writing
Yeah.
program. So that is programming for you. So when we combine these two words, competitive programming, it does mean something that you will assume that is right, and that is that a programming kind of thing which is in like a competition. But in reality, competitive programming is that, but it's much more than that as well. So competitive programming includes writing solutions of problems in such a way that your solutions take the least time possible and you are able to deliver your solutions in the least time possible. But this is very much of a contest type approach. But if we look at competitive programming in general, then it's all about solving problems with solutions that take the least time possible. That is all about competitive programming. So today the actual meaning of competitive programming is satisfied by the contests that are held. But if you want to do competitive programming by yourself, then it's only about how efficient solutions that you can write. Now what does efficient solution mean? Okay, let me just give you one quick example. So your college, the Anand College of Engineering, is a which branch? I mean, like which city is it in?
It is located in Bangalore, Shantanu.
Okay, yeah, it's in Bangalore, right? Okay, so let me just give you one quick example. Let's say that you are in Bangalore and you want to travel from Bangalore to, let's say, the most famous spot of all people from Bangalore, Nandi Hills.
Yeah,
So
that
you want
is
to
of
travel
course.
from Bangalore to Nandi Hills. Let's say that you want to travel from Bangalore to Nandi Hills. So you may make up this plan. Okay, we'll go in the morning. We'll watch the sunrise over there, and the teacher has scheduled a class test for us at like 11 a.m. in the morning. So we have to go there quickly, enjoy the sunrise, have some food, and then come back quickly. Suppose that's your plan. And then you have like, okay, how do we go to Nandi Hills? We are in such a hurry. So you have two options. Let's say the first option is a cab driver who tells you that, okay, if you wake up at like 5 a.m. in the morning, I can make you reach Nandi Hills in like 1.5 hours only by car.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is your first option. The second option is there's a cab driver B who tells you that I will make you reach Nandi Hills in 1 hour only if you wake up at 5 a.m. But there's something wrong with my car, so there may be some amount of delay. Like there, it can be extended up to 2 to 2.5 hours of time. So suppose these are the two options that you have. So like the first option is all about straightforward 1.5 hours guaranteed. The second option is 1 hour but not guaranteed. It can be more than 1 hour also. It can be more than 1.5 hours also. So which option would you like to choose in order to travel from Bangalore to Nandi Hills?
Well, that would depend on the person, but yeah, if I would have to take, then I would not take the risk if I had a class, right?
Yeah. So like not just not it's not about you just having a class. It's you about having a class test.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely something that you can't miss.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming a lot of you would go with the option one, right? If money is not a factor, definitely.
Right.
So most of you would be going with option with the first option. That is all about like going with the first cab driver who's going to take 1.5 hours of time. So that is exactly what competitive programming is all about. So similarly, like in this case, you had more than one options of traveling from Bangalore to Nandi Hills. You always have more than one solutions in order to solve a certain problem. But you always choose that solution which you are 100% sure is going to take the least time among all of the time slots that are available to you. For example, because most of you are here and we're all talking about programming, so let me just start with one very, very, very simple aspect of programming. So we all know about arrays, right? Array data structure. So
Right.
let's say that you want to calculate suppose given an integer wait, suppose you have to sort an array. Let's say that we all know
Yeah.
about sorting of an array, so right.
Yes.
So there are many ways of sorting an array. So you can sort an array using bubble sort, right? Radix sort, insertion sort,
Mm.
selection sort, quick sort, merge sort, heap sort,
Mm.
bubble sort. There are many sorting algorithms, but why do we choose merge sort and heap sort only? Because of worst time complexity is the least. That is why, I mean, the point that I'm trying to make here is that mostly for every certain solution, every certain problem that you are trying to solve, there will be more than one solutions that will be apt, that will always give you the correct answer. But what's more important is writing that solution that is the most efficient. So in computer programming, efficiency means good space complexity and good time complexity. With good I mean less.
Yeah.
With
Right.
good I mean less. So less time complexity and less space complexity. That is what efficiency in computer programming means. So if you're able to write a solution which has the least time complexity and the least space complexity, that means your solution is the best. That means your solution is really, really good. So like if I have to give one more small example, let's say that you have an array of 100 numbers. 100 numbers. Okay, you have an array of 100 numbers. You have to calculate the largest element in this array. Let's say that you have to find out the largest element in this array. So what will be your approach? Just want to know something from you. What would you do? Any correct solution that you're thinking, you can tell. That's don't think about time and space complexity. Just tell me the approach, what you will do.
Audience, anything in the comments, you can go ahead. We have actually 91 people joining in. That's really great to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
actually,
take this as a compliment to myself.
yeah, this is actually a compliment to you, Shantanu. Actually, my juniors, my first year students were actually very much pumped up to get into this roadmap to competitive programming. They were looking forward to this session, and most of
I,
them have joined gladly.
I would love it actually myself.
Yeah. Okay. So someone
Okay, yeah.
is
So
writing down the
I have a
answer.
Java solution which is actually very intriguing to see. Okay, wait.
Okay. Nice.
Okay. Yeah, okay, this solution is fine. I mean, it should do the job. Sort the array and find the maximum element. Yeah, that is also correct. Sort the
Yeah.
elements in the ascending order. That will be the last just. Yes. So I can see three solutions coming to me. One from Shubham Kumar, one from Kirthana K. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, and KP Manoj. Two-pointed technique. Yeah, that is also correct.
That is also good.
Yeah, bubble sort. Yes, that is also correct. We
Yeah,
can
that
do
is good.
linear search or sort, and get the last element. Yes. So technically, all the approaches that are coming in the chat box, they're all correct. They're
Yeah.
all correct. But you know what? The difference between each of these solutions is the time complexity. So, for example, if I take Kirthana's solution, the first solution that Kirthana has presented, that is about sorting the array and taking out the last element, right? So, if you sort the array, the least time that you can sort the array is in n log n time. That is by using merge sort or heap sort, right?
Yeah.
So, and then sorting the array and taking out the last element from it will be n log n time complexity. Whereas if we go with Shubham Kumar's solution, the first solution that we have in Java, that solution will do the job in O of n time only because it's a linear search technique. So
Yeah.
both of these solutions will always give you the correct answer. But if we look into from competitive programming approach, then getting the answer from the first option, that is Shubham Kumar's solution, will be a more apt one because it's going to take less time possible. So if
Yeah.
we have to get into statistics, then n log n, let's say we had 100 numbers, right? So 100 into log base 10 of 100 equals to 100 into 2, that is 200. So the second solution, that is sorting the array and taking out the last element, will be n log n time, that is 200 units of time. Whereas if we go with the first approach, which is the Java code that we are seeing in the chat box, that is going to take only 100 units of time. So
Yeah.
not only 100 is less than 200, 100 is half of 200. So
200,
by
right?
the so by the time you are able to solve one question by sorting the array and taking out the last element, you can solve the same question two times by using the first approach. So that is the power of competitive programming. So in competitive programming, the first and foremost thing that you're required to do is data structures and algorithms, because it's like it's the most fundamental thing about getting into competitive programming. So if we have to relate it to a real life example, when we were all kids, we used to go to school. So before we started going to school, we kind of had the idea of our mother tongue, like whatever language you speak in your native place. You must have learned Kannada, you must have learned Hindi, you must have learned Gujarati, Maharashtrian, Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, whatsoever. You must have learned at least that language before you started going to school. Some of you may also have started learning English before you started going to the school, right? But for most of us, we started learning the regional language first. Like in my case, I learned Hindi first. I started to go to school and then only I learned English.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that for most of you, you must have also learned your regional language first and only learned English from the time you started to go to school. So when we started going to school, we had kindergarten, we had upper kindergarten, lower kindergarten. Then we came to first standard, second standard, third standard, and so on and on. So how did we start learning English? We started learning English by learning the alphabets first. So like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Then when we came to upper kindergarten, then we started learning sentences like how to frame sentences. Then we came to even more, then we start to learn about parts of speech like noun, pronouns, and all. Then even after that, so by the time we came to third standard, fourth standard, fifth standard, we started writing essays and letters. By the time we came to sixth standard, like eighth standard, ninth standard, we started writing newspaper articles. So this is the progress that we have achieved by the time when we started to learn English. Similarly, these data structures happens to be the alphabets and sentence framing things in terms of competitive programming. So if you know data structures, only then you'll be able to do competitive programming. This is the simplest approach. This is the simplest way I can put it. So the more you study data structures, the better you can get at competitive programming, because your concept will be even more clearer the more you solve data structures and algorithms. So data structures and algorithms make up the most fundamental aspects of competitive programming. So you should be very, very clear with data structures and algorithms. So how do you get into data structures and algorithms? So if you're somebody who has already started, so first of all, kudos to you. If you have not started yet, then there's no problem. If you're confused between any language to choose, then in my option, if you go with C++ or Java, that will be the best options for you. But in case if you have started with any other language like Python or JavaScript, it's totally okay. Okay, just do not stay in any always stay in a object-oriented programming language. If you're somebody who's doing it in C, then I would suggest you to move to C++. But always do it in an object-oriented programming language. So that is one of the most important points. Apart from this, data structures and algorithms will be, like I said, it's going to be very, very important. So Pratik, let me just ask you one quick question from you,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. Okay, so
Yeah. Yeah.
suppose
Sure.
Pratik, I ask you one simple question. That Pratik, let's say that I have 5 chocolates.
Right.
Okay, I have 5 chocolates and I'm going to the market to buy 6 more chocolates.
Okay.
Okay, so what will be the number of chocolates that I will have?
That's 11 in total, right?
Yes, right. Okay,
Yeah.
so this was my first question. Now, suppose I ask you the second question. The second question is, Pratik, what will be the sum of 5 and 6?
11, right?
11, right? So
Yeah.
technically, in by at the time of answering both of these two questions, you imagine the same logic in your head, right? That is
Yeah,
addition of
right.
two numbers, right?
Yeah.
That is addition of
Yeah.
two numbers. This is exactly what happens in competitive programming and data structures and algorithms. So, like the second question I asked Pratik, it's very straightforward. What is the sum of 5 and 6? Pratik said 11. But when I asked him the first question that I have 5 chocolates, I'm going to the market to buy 6 more chocolates. How many chocolates will I have? So, in this question, I'm not exactly asking Pratik straightforward to give me the sum of two numbers. It is Pratik's logical thinking that tells him that I have to add these two numbers, and then he adds it and then gives the correct answer. This is the difference between data structured algorithm and and competitive programming. So the second question, that is 5 and 6 sum, is DSA, whereas the first question, that is going to the market and getting 6 more chocolates, is competitive programming. This is the simplest difference that I can bring out at the time of differentiating competitive programming and data structured algorithm. So technically you have been doing something like competitive programming all your life in your maths textbooks. So you learned about percentages, you learned about compound interest, simple interest, you learned about differentiation, integration. You have been doing simple data structure type things all your life, and you have solved word problems also all your life. So you know how to tackle a competitive programming questions. But tell me, Pratik, if you did not know how to add two numbers, will you be able to answer my first question?
No, no,
No.
no, exactly.
That's exactly why I was telling that data structure algorithm is going to be very, very important. Because
Yeah.
when you have understanding of data structure algorithm, competitive programming, the questions that you get in competitive programming are going to be those data structure algorithm questions only, but they're going to be hidden in sentences. You
Yeah,
have
right.
to read between the lines. You have to get into your logical mind and then try to analyze that what is it really asking me. That is something that you have to put your mind into. That is the real essence and the real way of doing competitive programming. So let me just give you one more small example. So suppose, Pratik, this is
Yeah,
going to be a
sure,
little
sure.
more difficult maths. So let's say
Okay.
that you have a parabola, and the equation of the parabola is y is equals to 4x square.
Okay.
Okay, and I ask you to differentiate this equation. So what will be your answer?
8x, right?
8x, right? But suppose instead of asking the question like this, I ask you something like this: that given an equation of parabola, which is
Yeah.
y is equals to 4x square, find out the slope of this parabola at x is equals to 2.
Yeah.
So what will you do again? You'll again differentiate it and then
Differentiate and
find out the value
yeah,
of y at x equals to 2, right?
x is equals to 2. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So had you not known that differentiating an equation gives you the slope of that
Hmm.
curve, you would have
Yeah.
never been able to tell this answer,
Sure, sure.
even though you know differentiation.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, suppose you know differentiation, and had you not known that differentiating will give you the slope, you would not be able to solve it, right? This is where the
Mhm.
concept comes into play.
Right.
So the more you study about data structures, the more conceptually you get your aspects clear about it. Trust me, competitive programming will get easier and easier and easier for you. This is
Yep.
exactly how it's like. This is exactly how it's like. And that is why I kind of personally feel like, if you are able to think, if you're ever good at maths at school, you will be good at competitive programming as well. The only thing that is making you not so good at it is you yourself, because you're not practicing enough, or you're not studying enough. That is the only reality about it. So that was about competitive programming. So when we get into competitive programming, we kind of have to understand how to be good at it. So I gave all this lecture, right? That it's like this, it's like that. But the real reason I know most of you are here is how to get good at competitive programming. And absolutely something that we must all know. Because to be honest, competitive programming, first of all, we need to make sure that why are we talking about it. It's because we all want to be good at competitive programming. Now, what is so special about competitive programming? It's not going to take you to space, right? But what is so special about it that we are talking about it today? It is because the more or the better you are at competitive programming, the better chances you can open yourself for the sake of getting better jobs. That is the bitter truth today. So even though you do a lot of competitive programming, you get into some company, and then in that company you will not be asked to do competitive programming, but still the harsh reality is you will be asked a lot of competitive programming related questions at the time when you're sitting for an interview or for a written test of any company. This is reality, and this is the biggest reason why we are here today.
Yeah.
So when we are sitting for any companies, we first need to understand where are the two places where we are asked competitive programming questions. So the first place where you will be asked a competitive programming question will be when you are sitting for a written round of test. So in this written round of test, you will be seeing competitive programming type questions, at least two questions or three questions that you're supposed to solve in a given span of time. probably not more than 1 hour or 1.5 hours. Okay, so that is the time limit you will have, and this is the time when you will see that the questions are convoluted in such a way that you may not be able to understand what it's trying to ask you unless it's very straightforward. This is where your computer programming skill will come into play. Okay, so the more computer programming you do, the better you get at understanding what the question is going to ask you, and the better you get. That is exactly how it's like. Okay, and the next part is when you are able to clear this written round of test, after that you get to notice that you are sitting in a technical round of interview. In this technical round of interview, your interview will be hell lot of interested in asking questions on data structures and algorithms. They will get the best of you. Like I have been like absolutely roasted to the maximum extremes possible. And so even that, if that has also happened to me, so that can happen to very well anyone. So that is why it's very, very important to be good at computer programming. Now the question is the biggest question of today: how to be good at competitive programming. So when we talk about being good at competitive programming, think of it how you got good at maths. Think about, like I was trying to relate it with maths, right? Think about how you got good at maths. So when you were learning maths back at school, or even when you're still studying it in college, the way you get good at it is trying to understand the fundamental concepts first, and then you try to solve questions on it, right? This is exactly what we do in computer programming also. So you have to understand the fundamental concepts first. The fundamental concepts include learning a programming language. That is the first thing, and I'm pretty sure that most of you have covered this step. The second step is getting clear with data structures and algorithms. Now when people talk about data structures and algorithms, I'm pretty sure half of the people have only done data structures and not algorithms. So that is not acceptable. So you might be knowing about stacks, queues, graphs, trees, but you may not know about Prim's algorithm, Distra's algorithm, Kruskal algorithm. Maybe you're not knowing about dynamic programming. So these are a few things that you have to cover, because it's very, very important. So you have to first of all start from there. Now if if you're looking for a place, oh, Shantanu is telling me that we have to start learning data structures and algorithms. Now where do I start learning from? So to be honest, if we exclude the COVID times, then technically we are living in the best times of human history. We kind of have, like especially in the computer science domain, all the resources are available on the internet. To be honest, when I was in college, I don't hardly remember that I've ever studied from a book from library. I've always studied from the internet. I've always studied from the internet. So if you're somebody like me who likes to read text-based content but not from books, so if you like to read text-based contents and if you want to learn from a text-based content, then I think Geeks for Geeks can be a very, very good place for you. I personally have had a lot of learning from Geeks for Geeks, because I'm not a video person. I kind of always read from text. So I have done a lot of studying from Geeks for Geeks. I have also referred to tutorialspoint.com, javateapoint.com, studytonight.com. So these places are really, really good. So if you're somebody like me who likes to read text-based content, then these places will help you in understanding the basics of data structures as well as algorithms. So this is pretty much it about text-based content. But if you're like, I'm pretty sure a lot of you would like to consume content from videos. Most of us are like that. We just don't, we like to see we like to visualize graphical aspects inside your mind about data structures and algorithms. So if you're somebody like that, then I think you can go with really good courses available on the internet. So Udemy is a great place. YouTube is a great place. We at Coding Ninjas have also created really good content. So if you're interested in that, you can also check that out. All of these places are actually really, really good. And you can basically start learning from any of these places. Okay. So this is one thing. And the second most important thing is self-study. Okay, so even if the creator of stacks and queues come to your home and start teaching you stacks and queues, you will never learn it unless you practice yourself. Okay, so that is one thing. So if you are somebody who likes to learn physics, even if Albert Einstein comes to your place and start teaching you physics, you'll never be able to be good at it unless you do self-practice by yourself. So that is very, very important, that you practice consistently all the things that you are studying. So this is somewhat amount of it. Now the thing is that you have learned, you just got some information of where to study from and what to study. Now that is something that you already know. The second thing is practicing. So when you are practicing data structures and algorithms, one very important thing that I will recommend is that do not try to do data structures and algorithms or competitive programming in more than one language. Many people will try to do this in more than one language. I have also made that mistake in the past. So I am a Java person. I code in Java, and there was one time that I was trying to do DSA using Python also. But when I was sitting for solving any question, I would think of the logic in Python, then write it in Java, or maybe think of it in Java. Maybe I was getting stuck, so I immediately switched to Python. So that is something that should not happen, because instead of making you look cool that you know multiple language, it is making you look dumb because you're switching between languages and wasting your time. So don't do that. Try to stick to one language only. If you're doing it in C++, stick to C++. If you're doing it in Java, stick to Java. Whatever language you're doing it in, stick to that language. That is very, very important. Okay. Now the next thing is that there are amazing places to practice data structures and algorithms from. So one of the best places to practice data structures and algorithms from is Lead Code. Lead Code is amazing, amazing, a hell amazing. It's very, very good. Lead Code is really, really, really good. So if you're somebody who is interested in practicing, go and participate in contests that are present in Lead Code. That will actually help you a lot. The second amazing place, and one of those places where I personally have done a lot of competitive programming, is Code Forces. So in Code Forces, you see divisions. There are contests that are released in divisions. So Div 1, Div 2, Div 3. Start with
Yeah.
Div 3. Start with Div 3. If you're able to solve 3 to 4 questions of Div 3, then trust me, you're doing a very good job. If you're able to solve at least 3 questions or even 2 questions in Div 2, then again you're doing a very, very good job. And if you can solve Div 1, then I'll do whatever you say because I was never able to solve a Div 1 question.
Yeah,
So
right.
that is what it is like. So the more you solve these questions, the better you get. Okay, another important aspect of becoming really, really good at competitive programming is reading the editorials. Reading editorials. So I remember I was sitting in an interview, and no, sorry, my friend was sitting in, this was my friend's interview. So I was sitting in my friend's interview. I mean, it was like a two-person interview that was happening. So it was a test college interview, something like that. It was not any company's interview. So my senior asked my friend that you imagine you have a number. So let's say that from you have one number which is a positive number. Okay, and it's definitely greater than one. It's definitely greater than one. Then so how many number of binary search trees will be possible? How many number of binary search trees will be possible uh, between the number one and between this given number? So like if the trees has one node or two, then two nodes, then three node dot 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 n nodes. So first of all, you have to calculate the number of trees that are possible when there's only one node, then plus two node, plus three node, plus four node, plus five node, and dot 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 n nodes. So my friend wrote a solution of n cube, but it worked. It definitely worked. He wrote a solution of n cube. He was trying to figure out. So he what basically he did was he took the node. He took one node. Like let's say that the number is 5. Let's say that the number is 5. So and so you have to start with one node only, right? So if you are talking about one node, then only one binary. There's no binary search tree possible because it cannot have two children. So the root node is only the leaf node, which is not possible. So when you get to two nodes, then there are two binary search trees possible: root node on left side and then root node on right side, right? So what he basically did was he took one parent node and he found out all the left subtrees and the right subtree and then switched the parent node. And in this fashion, he found out all the count of all the binary search trees that were possible. So he wrote an n cube solution. And my senior was like, ha 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 ha, this absolutely works. But you know what? I have a better solution. And we were like, how could you even optimize it less than n cube? Then he came up with this approach of Catalan number. So it's a number. So like it's like a number. So remember when we were in school, we got a formula for finding out the sum of squares of all the numbers of n natural numbers, right? And then cube also n square plus n plus 1 square by 4, something like
Yeah.
that. So we got
Right,
those
right,
formulas,
right.
right? So similarly, there's a formula called Catalan number, which is like n factor 2n factorial by n plus 1 factorial into n factorial. And this just you imply this formula and your answer has come. And we were like, God, why were we even thinking of an n cube solution? So he told us that he got this approach from a editorial. Even I personally have seen that many times that I was able to solve a question and I was able to write an optimized solution also. But with reading the editorial, sometimes I see that the solution, the real solution that is written in the editorial, is way more optimized than what I can think of it can be. So reading editorials will give you intense amounts of knowledge if you're into that. So reading editorials will increase your knowledge to exponential levels. That is a fact. Okay, so try to read editorials, try to be the part of some of the contests which will help you in order to improve your competitive spirit. And that's pretty much it about competitive programming on online platforms. So if you are somebody who is doing all of these, if you're filling all of these checkpoints, then trust me, your competitive programming journey will be really, really good. Please do not focus on how many number of stars you have or what badge you have. It does not matter at the end of the day. What matters is how much you're learning. Okay, you will see people on LinkedIn or that they're posting about how many number of badges they have, how many number of stars they have, or maybe they have done some certification from some foreign university using Coursera or something like that. Nothing of this counts unless you are skilled. Your skills speak higher than your any of your certificates or any of your badges. So to be honest, I do not have any Coursera skills, but I know a lot more than people who have done course on web development in Coursera. So that is what it is. So like actions speak louder than words. So that's pretty much it. That is exactly what it is like. So please do not focus on badges and certifications. Focus on gaining skills. And I just told you how to gain all of these skills. So you focus on yourself. That is absolutely very, very, very important. And this is how you can move ahead. Okay. So before I end this session and take the question answer round, I will ask you one simple question. Okay. The question is something like this. Okay. So imagine Pratik is our teacher. Okay. So Pratik, you're my teacher for some time. Okay, and we have Anupam from Coding Ninjas also in today's session. So imagine Pratik that Anupam and I are your students. Okay,
Right.
Anupam and I
Right.
are your students. You are our math teacher. So we are in standard. Let's say we are in eighth class, eighth standard. Okay, so you have recently taught us Pythagoras theorem.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you give us one question. Okay, Shantanu and Anupam, this is your question. Your question is that given a right angle triangle, the perpendicular's length is 12 centimeters and the base's length is 5 centimeters. Calculate the length of the hypotenuse. So technically, we all know that the answer is 13, but
Yeah.
there is one scenario. So the scenario is something like this. So the first student is Anupam. So Anupam knows Pythagoras theorem. Okay. Anupam
Yeah.
knows Pythagoras theorem. Anupam also remembers that 12 square equals 144. Anupam remembers 5 square equals 25. And Anupam also remembers that 13 square equals 169. Okay. In my case, I also know Pythagoras theorem, but I don't remember 12 square, 5 square, and 13 square. Rather than remembering it, I believe in calculating at the time of examinations. So, given this question, which among me and Anupam will be able to solve this question faster?
Surely Anupam will be able to do it faster
And why do you think that will happen?
because he knows the formula, he knows the calculations, so he
Yeah.
actually doesn't need a pen and paper also to do that. He can do it
Yes.
mentally. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my point. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So the concept that I just told you right now, that is remembering stuff, and because of remembering, your calculations it reduces a lot. So even in differentiation integration, we learned all the different what is it called what is it called, derivatives. Yeah, we learned all the
Derivative.
derivatives of all these simple equations like e to the power x derivatives is e to the power x only, x square equals 2x, something like that. So we all remembered it, so we don't always have to calculate it. So because of this, our solving skills, our solving speed has increased, right?
Yeah.
So this is exactly that I am trying to figure it out. So because Anupam was able to solve this question before me, because he has remembered these values, that is the same concept that is applied in dynamic programming. This is all dynamic programming is all about. And dynamic programming these days is literally one of the favorite topics of all interviewers. Literally, this is going to be one of the favorite topics of all of the interviewers. That's why I wanted to bring some light on it. So dynamic programming is something like, if you're asked to solve a question, let's say 100 times, then why will you solve it 100 times? You can just solve it one time and then write the solution for every 99 places, right? This is exactly what happens in dynamic programming. So you solve a question once, you remember it, and if you're asked to solve it again, you just refer to the value in your memory and then you take it out and then you write the solution. This is exactly what happens in dynamic programming. So just like I was able to solve it, similarly without dynamic programming also you can solve your problem. You can get the solution of your problem, but the time taken between a DP approach and a non-DP approach will be drastically different. This is the real reason why interviewers want to see DP in students today. So this is pretty much it from my side about competitive programming. So I expect if you have any questions for me, I would love to answer them. So I can already
Mm,
see one question from Jayashri who says, which language is better, Java or Python? Well, I'm not key between what's the better language. It totally depends on your use case. So if you're somebody who's doing web development, then I think Java is a better language. But if you're somebody who's doing data analysis, then Python is a better language. So that is how it's going to be. How does one deal with rating loss or unable to grasp some concepts? Well, you deal with inability to grasp some concepts by trying to push harder yourself. Trying to push yourself harder. That is the only way. Is it possible to? Yes, it is possible to prepare. I have prepared for CP in less than 20 days. So you can definitely do it in 3 months also. 3 months is just
uh,
fine.
Yeah, hello everyone. Everyone joining in. We are sharing some coupons of coding ninjas as well as some free accounts to repel it. So please fill up the form. Who guys are joining in? Actually, during the call, Shantanu, our space got filled, so we had to what share the crowd to the YouTube as a YouTube feed as well. So okay,
Wow,
yeah,
I'm
that
so
was
proud of
actually.
myself.
Yeah, that is actually amazing. We crossed 100 people at a time, and we had people joining in and telling us that, okay, where should we join in? It's filled and everything. So we had to what counter the crowd to the YouTube as well. So everyone who is here, please just fill up the form and you will get the accounts as well. And till that time, if you have some questions, please go ahead, type in the chat, and Shanta will take it.
Yeah, so Niranjan has a question.
Yeah.
Niranjan Reddy. Yeah. Niranjan, what is it?
So actually, we are taught in data structures and algorithms in C. Can we prefer any coding languages like Java?
Yeah, yes, I do it in Java. I have done all my CP and DSA in Java, so you can definitely do it in Java.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, point blank. Please move ahead. Interesting name, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I guess we have some questions. Any more questions, anyone? If they have, then if not, then I will ask some questions of mine because Shantanu, I am also doing the same thing that you are. I am a competitive programmer and I am doing web development on the side.
Okay.
Okay, we have a question. So,
Comes
how to
first.
decide? Yeah,
Decide
please go
between
ahead.
development and competitive programming. Okay, so technically you don't always have to make a choice. This is one place where you can go with polygamy. So like you can keep development and competitive programming at the same time. But I would see, to be honest, development is actually the practical implementation of whatever you're learning, and I will always rank development higher than competitive programming in my personal regards, in my personal basis. But if we look into, if we are being practical, then competitive programming needs more emphasis because of company selection criteria. So if you're good at competitive programming, if you consider yourself good at competitive programming, only then start doing development. If you're not good at it, or if you're doing fairly well at it, then you can start development. But don't do something like this, that you have completely stopped doing competitive programming and are only doing development, even though that is something I would really appreciate. But like, if we are being absolutely practical, then we have to do competitive programming also very consistently. So I would say that do competitive programming. That should be a first priority. After that, you can do development. So that is how I also did. There was one time when I completely stopped doing competitive programming and only was doing development. But I have personally felt it was not the best choice that I have made. But and I would not want you to make that mistake. So do competitive programming side by side development. So that is how it should be like. How to be consistent and deal with ups and downs in CP? Well, there will always be ups and downs in anything that you do. So if you're facing ups and downs in CP, consistency will come from your time management and schedule. So you will always feel like, oh, today I did not have time. That is all an excuse, because you will always have time. But it's all about what are you prioritizing more. And I think that that is the only key to consistency. With ups and downs in CP, the only ups and downs that you will face is up is when you can solve a problem, and down is when you can't solve a problem. So, or down is when you can solve a problem, or maybe your friend solve it in a much simpler approach than you did. So this is where you have to little bit, this down usually comes because of your ego issues. So like, you think very highly of yourself, and suddenly you're not able to solve a problem. So that is when you are in that down phase. Or maybe your friend was able to solve it in a much simpler approach than you were able to. So that is also an ego clash with yourself. So you have to let go of it. You have to be a learner. You have to consistently ask people, bug them until they get annoyed, in order to get your doubts very clear. So if you have to be good at all of these things, then you have to little bit put down your ego. So that is how it's like. That is how it's like. In final year, I am confused between what to go with, Android development or CP. Do Android development if you're not placed. Sorry, do CP if you're not placed. If you're placed, then you can definitely go with Android development. If you are placed, then Android development. If you're not placed, then do CP. Because getting a job is current at this time, it will give you some sort of stage to be at, and then you can move into different directions if you want to. So if you finally do CP, get yourself with a job, and then you can get into any field that you want to. What's a decent level slash rating in CP in any OJ? What is OJ?
I guess he means different platforms like CodeChef or CodeForces, something like that.
Well, like I said, it doesn't matter. I personally have zero I don't stay active on any coding platform rather than code forces, and I don't even think I have really good badges. But that does not matter. That did not stop me from getting a good job, right? It's the same cases. So it does not matter what rating you have. The only thing that matters is how much skilled you are. So but even then, if you're asking about badges, if you're on code chef, I think 3 star would be 3 to 4 star would be really good. If you're on code forces, in code forces we have badges. So in code, I'm not really sure of how many badges we have in code forces. I'll have to check and I'll get back to you about that. C++ or Java for placements. Either, any of these two are really good. Either is fine. It depends on your choice here. If you ask me my personal choice, then I'll go with Java, but it depends on you as well. So either is fine. How to deal with failing at contest by preparing harder?
Right.
Yeah, that's the only way.
That is
I can't.
actually a thing. That is
Yeah,
actually a thing that people fail in the contest and they don't give the next contest and they feel
yeah,
like, no, I have to work harder. That's not like that. We have to
yeah,
consistently perform. Like, as you
yeah,
said, that ratings
yeah.
doesn't matter. You have to
Yep.
forget about your rating and just keep on giving the contest, whatever be the results. It doesn't
Yes,
matter.
yes, exactly. Of course, I can't answer that question that go in a bar and drink a lot. That's not the right answer to it. How to deal with failing
Yeah.
at contest. So,
Okay, so we have next questions.
yeah. So Jayashree asks, any tricks to remember algorithms? I kind of, I have my tricks for remembering algorithms. So like my tricks for remembering algorithms is how many times are we performing recursion. So the more recursions we have, that means that the less complexity of an algorithm it will have. So I kind of my basic trick is I try to remember the number of recursions that are happening. So the higher the number of recursions, like it kind of reduces the time complexity. So I have the skill that I can take out the time complexity of an algorithm by seeing the number of recursions that are happening. So I remember the time complexity of every algorithm. So I see, okay, in this algorithm, I have to perform this many recursions. Okay, this was a timer. Okay, so it has to be this algorithm. So that is the kind of approach that I follow. Does winning hackathons competition really matter? Yes, it does. Many a times, winning an hackathon will give you a placement. So I was very close to getting a full-time opportunity in PhonePe, but I got rejected in the fifth out of 7 rounds of technical rounds. And that was because I had created a mobile application which was allowing PhonePe to create offline transactions as well. So if the receiver or the sender or both of them did not have internet connection, there was a possibility of making a transaction. So that is one hackathon that I was a part of. We did win the hackathon, but we could not get the full-time opportunity there, sadly. But it's okay. But that is something that can happen to you. Maybe I failed, but who knows that you may not fail, right? I've recently started DSA, but I'm struggling a lot with binary trees and others. Okay, so try to read them a little more. Try see, people usually struggle with binary trees because sometimes you are not very good at implementing it in the language of your choice. So try to implement it. Try to read the very basic operations. After that, I think you should be doing better. Is there any set of standard problem that we must solve in interview point of view? Geeks for Geeks must do coding questions. Code Studio interview questions. That is of Coding Ninjas. Love Bubbles DSC sheet. That is very long, but if you can do it, then do it. It's going to be very helpful.
Yeah, sure. So we have a contest today on coding ninjas as well. So it will be today at 3 to 6, guys. Whoever is joining in, please do what register to the contest and come up and solve the questions. I have shared the link in the chat, and it will be a 3-hour programming contest. It will be just like any other code force or code shop questions, and it's really going to be amazing. The codes and platform is nice. I've tried it. I've participated in a few of the contests. I've won something, and yeah, it's really encouraging. So I would say that you guys join in.
Can one still do CP if he's bad at math? Yes, I think yes. But you'll have a little bit of difficulty, but you'll be better at it with slowly. How did you get introduced to CP? Because of fear. I got introduced to CP because of fear, because I was very good with development, but I was not good at CP and I thought I'll not get a good job. So that's how I got introduced to CP, because of fear. I was very scared when I was in second year of college.
Okay.
Should we go for reading materials or keep on practicing till we get to know more God? No, I would say that read, practice, read, practice, read, practice. That is the right way. So after read, practice, you'll get to a point when you can't read anything more. You'll be like, oh, this is also we can do it. So like that will mostly be like you solve more questions and you get to know more things. Yeah, high five, Spurs. Same boat.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pratik, you also had some questions, right?
Yeah. Actually, I had some questions. So, Shantanu, I had to ask that what's the what's the role of experience in any interview, like the internships and the hackathons? Like
Hmm.
competitive programming is a thing that is really motivates student by giving up badges, and you solve one question, you feel good. That is good.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
development and these things are like a concurrent failure. Okay, you'll apply to 10 internships, then you might get one or maybe not. Right,
Hmm.
you might get the call, but you won't get selected. So, what
Hmm.
role does the experience plays on your resume? Like,
Like,
if you are applying for a job?
so as a fresher when you're applying for a job with an experience of an internship, so that does play some major role. Like if you're somebody who's an experienced professional, like let's say you have 5 years of experience, so at that time the role of experience will be different from what this role of experience as a fresher will you your internship will have to play. So as a fresher, it will only play this role that this candidate is endorsed by this company because he or she has worked in this company and has the knowledge of implementing the theoretical knowledge into practical based approaches. So internships will very much be development based only. You will not be asked to solve or like merge two sorted arrays into one sorted array in a internship, right? That is
Yeah.
not what's going to happen. So that gives the company an ideal that this person is fit for working with any major organization because this person has. And if the organization's name is big, then that will also give the hiring organization this idea that if this person can work with this organization, then this person can also work with us.
Yeah.
So that is
Right.
the role. That is the role. That is, but when it comes to number of years of as a professional candidate, that gets added a lot. So when if you are somebody who's doing development, you will see that we use double OP concepts very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so like it's all about optimizing smallest to smallest of things. Okay, so like especially in development, like I have been a part of many developmental activities and many major projects also. So we had opportunities where we had to reduce a program which was taking milliseconds of time to make it take nanoseconds of time. It doesn't matter, like as an end user you won't even notice. As an
Yeah.
end user you won't even notice, but these small things make a difference. Like I'll just give you one small example. So like imagine you're supposed to make a UPI payment through someone. Okay, you can do it using Google Pay also, you can do it using Phone Pay also, but you would have always noticed, like this is a fact, that Google Pay does get stuck sometimes,
Yeah.
right? But
True.
Phone Pay does not. This is the difference that milliseconds and nanoseconds can make. Okay, so major companies, because they have thousands and thousands of users, they want it to be the best products that they can deliver, because their entire company is all about that. Right, so these are the things that will matter a lot. The more skills you have, that will matter a lot. So all of these things will be really important at the time of experience as an experienced candidate. So that is why in the industry, people with higher amount of experience get higher CTC. They get calls from multiple places that, oh, can you please join us, can you please join us, even if you're not applying. So that can also very well happen.
Thanks. Thanks. That clears a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some more questions in the chat.
Any tips for off-campus placements versus in-campus placements? Off-campus placements, keep your resume very crisp compared to so off-campus placement, keep your resume very crisp. And in campus, see, I have mostly like, to be honest, in campus placements are going to be slightly easier for you. So the easiest way you're getting a job is through companies coming inside your campus. That is the easiest way. Off campus is like 100 times tougher. The tougher part is not to clear the test. The tougher part is to get an opportunity to write the test. That
Yeah.
is the toughest part. So in off campus placement, keep your resume very crisp. That is going to be helpful a lot, and keep your eye very strongly on LinkedIn. So that is going to be absolutely very helpful. Any guidance for people who cleared Microsoft Engage 2021 and now we are called for interview from Microsoft? I'm very much nervous. I have no idea about this one. I'm sorry, Aditi. I'll have to do some amount of research on that. I don't want to give you with false information.
Yeah. Although Aditi, congratulations on that.
Yeah, I will share my LinkedIn address with you, and I will get. Please send me a connection request. I will get back to you once I have my information on that.
Yes.
Slash.
Okay, we have two people raising hand. Let me give the cue to them. Okay, Niranjan, you can go ahead, I guess. Hmm, I don't know. Okay, I guess Niranjan is not getting in. Okay, so we also have a scholarship test by Coding Ninjas. Everyone who is joining in, we have shared the link in the chat, so please do register to it. And Shantu, I had a few more questions if
Yeah,
you like.
please
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
So there are different platforms like there's CodeShare, there's HackerRank, there is CodeForces. Okay. So does the ratings on these actually matter? Like
No,
while building on the resume,
no, does not
does it
matter.
matter? Okay. It does not matter, right?
It's like
So
it's good to showcase your skills, but in the end, it does not matter. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
And by
because
the time you have like 2 or 3 years of experience, it won't matter at all.
mhm. No, because I've seen students, students going and copying pasting the codes from others and taking a reference from the different things, and just to increase the rating. And I
Yeah.
don't get a clear picture that why is that that important that people are cheating so much. Like it's not like people will just see a 3-star on your CodeChef account and offer you a job or something like that.
Yeah,
It's not like
it's
that,
not like
right?
that. Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
that. I
Okay.
know people who have never practiced on any competitive coding platform. Okay, but they are sitting it with Google and Amazon
Okay. Nice.
because all that matters is skill, not the
Yeah.
badge, not the star.
Yeah.
The only
Uh,
star that matters is you.
that is
Yes.
very well put. That is very well put. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so what's your take on good means big coding competitions like Google Kickstart and similar hash code and ICPC? So should students be preparing for that as well?
See, I think, see, technically, why do we, first of all, you need to figure out why you are doing competitive programming. That is the first things. If you love doing competitive programming, that's a different thing. If you're doing competitive programming only for the sake of getting job, that's a different thing. So if you are somebody who loves, absolutely loves doing computer programming, then go for ICPC and all. Okay, that is going to be very, very nice. But if you're somebody who's interested in, like, the sole purpose of you doing a computer programming is to get a good job, then I think Google Kickstart or Hacker Cup, Facebook Hacker Cup, these can be really, really helpful, because the more you solve the questions, the best part about this is that you're getting rewarded something that you actually want. That is your dream job. So why not focus on that? Right. So I
Yeah.
think that is the way about it. So if you are somebody who does not love competitive programming, then there's no point in preparing for ICPC. But if you're only doing for the sake of a job, then participate in Kickstart, then participate in Hacker Cup. There might be a chance that you will get a good chance. I had participated in Hacker Cup. I got till very far, but I got rejected in the second last round. But I mean, I did not get a chance to interview, but because there are rounds of Hacker Cups, right? So I
Yeah.
could not solve all the questions in like all the required. I mean, I could not get the optimum score by the time I was appearing the fourth round. But it's okay. It was a very good experience.
Actually, those contests are a good experience because the questions, the set of questions are standard, and you
Hmm.
get to know that how these platforms want you to write the code. That
Yeah.
is a good experience.
Yes, especially in
Yeah.
Google Hacker Cup, Google and Kickstart and Hacker Cup. Usually, I've noticed that even if your questions are not the most optimized, it's fine. If you're able to think of a solution that works, because the questions are not very easy. So if you're able to
Right.
think of a solution that works, it's really, really good. It's really
Right.
good.
Yeah, that is actually the thing. But
Hmm.
people actually see the tag of Facebook and Google, and they think that it's a very hard contest, and I should not, I should not take on the contest, and I won't be able to. I fail on it miserably. So
Well,
that is the thing that,
it definitely is hard. I would not say that it's very
yeah,
easy, but that does
yeah.
not mean that you should not do it. Like, for example, that's equivalent to saying that if you're going to a gym and you're like, oh, I will not go to gym because there are people with absolutely perfect bodies. But if you want to be as good as them, you have to feel bad at the start.
Yeah,
if you
right.
are if you're among that kind of a people, so there's no running away from it. So the more you run away from it, the worse you get at it. If you want to be good at it, you have to step out of your comfort zone.
Okay, nice. So
Yeah,
we have
that's
one
me
more
telling
question in
today.
the chat.
That's me
Yeah.
telling today. But to be honest, I was the same person who was feeling this when I was joining Hacker Cup or Google Kickstart. So I was not practicing what I'm preaching today.
Okay.
Had I known this
So
earlier.
so we have a new question. Jayshree has
Yeah.
a question. This is the most the best question
From which
that
year
from
one
which
must start prep for placement? I think if you want to start preparation for placement, I think second year end, like by the time you're finishing your fourth semester, try to start preparing for. But I still think third year was going to be the best time, because by the time you're in third year, you get to study a lot of those subjects that are asked during placements a lot, like computer networks, database management systems. So third year is the best time. But I think with the DSA part, you should be very, very good. I mean, at least you should try to be good by the time you're finishing your second year. So I would say that. But usually, if you're in third year, also it's a very good time. To be honest, even if you're in final year, it's also not a bad time. But the sooner you start, the better it is for you. What does being consistent mean in C? Be practicing regularly, at least 1 to 3 hours a day, or expand your skill set? I would say the first one, practicing regularly 1 to 3 hours a day.
Okay, so I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
So,
I don't
like,
mind.
yeah. So, actually, what happens is that should we, if we suppose I go on to give an example of arrays. Okay, so if we know array, okay, we understand how arrays work, and we can solve questions on it. So, simply doing 20 and 30 of those questions don't, that won't count as helpful to us, right? So we should take when should we switch topics? Like when we that we should feel ready that okay, I can switch topics,
That
that
is
we are
why we
done
have
with.
that is
Mm,
why we have selected questions, right? So like if
mm,
you take into consideration this thing, Geeks for Geeks must do coding questions, or Love Bubbles DSC sheet, or even the Code Studios interview preparation course that we that question, set of questions that we
mm,
have very curately, aligned the questions in such a way that each topic wise, that if you're able to solve all of these questions, then you can switch to next topic. That is pretty much it. So if you're able, like if you're solving questions on lead code and all, then is when you need this decision making thing. But I think that you should start with like must do questions first. Once you start with must do questions, at least you will be solving all the important questions that are required to build your concepts and your practice sessions on any certain topic. Once you're done with that, then you can basically, you should be able to tackle almost 80% of any topics questions. So that is one way about it.
okay, thanks. So we have one more question, two questions actually.
Let me just check. So does SGP and CGPA matter? What's the average required? See, it doesn't really matter. I did not really have a very, very good CGPA in my college, but I still did receive one of the best opportunities from my college. So it does not exactly that CGPA and SGPA matter a lot, but it does matter if it's low, right? So if you're somebody who's above 7.5 average, then I think you should not worry at all. But if you're somebody who's like 6.5, then I think you should be worrying. So 7 above is fine. 7.5 above is also is like the most optimal point. If you have a back in any subject, then that can be very bad. So try to clear all your backlogs. Is CP really needed for placements? Yes, it is. Sadly, it is. I heard binary trees, graph, and other topics, but how do I make sure I cover all these topics necessary for an interview? By practicing. That is the only way. That is the only way. So try to practice a lot. It requires everyday effort. How many months are required to learn DSA completely? To learn DSA, you can learn it in 1 month also, but I would say keep a track of 2 months of time. Learn every day, solve questions. 2 months is fine. Even if it takes 3 months, that is also fine. What are the placement prep which we have to do? Is it only CP aptitude development? Anything apart from this? CP definitely important. Aptitude depends on company. Development, I mean, if you have it, it's like cherry on the cake. But if you don't have CP, it's like you don't have the cake. So there's no point of that cherry because nobody's going to eat it. So I don't know where I'm getting all of these puns, but it's
Yeah,
interesting.
these are good. These are actually gold right now.
Yeah, right. So like you should be doing CP. That is very important, and then development. Aptitude depends a lot of companies. The other thing is that you should be good. You should be good with like computer science fundamentals, like computer networks, database management systems, operating systems. So these are a few subjects that you'll be studying when you're in third year. All of these things will be really, really important. So development is good. If you have developmental experience, that can increase your chances of getting selected. But the thing is that CP will take you to the interview. If you only know development, you may not get to the interview and you may not be able to show your developmental skills. That is the sad part.
That is true. So, guys, any more questions? If you have, just put in it. I think we are heading to the end of this session now because Shantu, thank you for the amazing session. You cleared a lot of doubts here.
I loved
Okay,
it here.
yeah, actually it was a great session because actually we got more than 100 people, and actually we had to traffic change our traffic to YouTube and Twitch channels. That okay, guys, this is filling in, so you guys can go over there. Okay,
Yes. Next
yeah.
time when we have it here, we'll just switch to Zoom for 500 people space.
Sure. We will do that. Sure, we will do that.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks,
All right.
Shantu. Thank you, Coding Ninjas. It was truly a great session.
Thank you
I
for having me here. Thank you
personally,
for
yeah, I personally loved it.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All the
Only star that matters is you. Yes, that's right. I will also try to follow it in my own life. But thanks.
this is
Thanks for having me. That was amazing. I really loved the crowd and it was amazing. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Shantanu. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Coding Ninjas. This was
Yep.
this was an amazing session.
Yep. Bye everyone. See you guys later.
Yeah. Thank you.